Hello, I'm Alex Zane, and welcome to Movie Dose here on Cinema Surgery, where we bring you all the latest big movie news in one easy-to-swallow dose, except this is a slightly bigger pill to swallow because we are talking about what possibly might be one of the biggest films of 2026 on this episode, because it is based on one of the greatest tales ever told, Homer's Odyssey. Yes, we are talking Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, due out in 2026. Now seems to be the perfect time to start talking about it, as well as filming is just about to get underway at the end of February at the World Heritage Site of Ait Ben Haddou in Morocco. Sets are currently being built out there. Filming is about to begin. So let's talk The Odyssey. Just before we get into it, as I always say, if you do enjoy this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so we can keep making more of them. So I'm first going to start by talking about why I think Christopher Nolan has chosen to adapt The Odyssey for the big screen. And then in the second part of this video, we're going to get into our predictions for which cast member is playing which iconic role from The Odyssey. That's the plan. So let's begin with why The Odyssey is the perfect tale to be adapted by Christopher Nolan. So, first of all, what is The Odyssey about? So, Homer's The Odyssey tells the story of Odysseus and his 10-year journey to return home to Ithaca, where he's king after the Trojan War. Along the way, he faces mythical challenges, including the famous encounter with the Cyclops, the encounter with the Sirens, trying to trash his ship on the rocks, a sorceress named Circe, as well as dealing with the influence of those meddlesome gods. Meanwhile, back in Ithaca, his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus are dealing with the ever stronger advances of suitors trying to win Penelope's hand and therefore take Odysseus's throne and become king of Ithaca. But what's most interesting for Nolan, I imagine, is The Odyssey is told in a non-linear fashion. Now, I truly believe it is this non-linear way of storytelling that features in The Odyssey that has attracted Nolan in a big way. Let me give you some more detail on this, because as we all know, Christopher Nolan loves playing with the structure of film. So, as I said, while The Odyssey covers Odysseus's 10-year journey home, it actually begins near the end of the 10th year, and it finds Odysseus trapped on an island with a nymph named Calypso, who he has had a brief affair with, gazing out to sea. He's been stuck there for 7 years. All he's wanted to do is return home. From that point, we flash back to the first 3 years of his journey home, which is where most of the major events in the story take place. The Cyclops, the Sirens, the sea monster Scylla all take place in those first 3 years. Now, in amongst the flashbacks from the island to those first 3 years of his journey, we also have two other storylines going on. One is Penelope trying to foil the suitors with some trickery to prevent them winning her hand and stealing Odysseus's throne. Then there's another storyline which sees his son Telemachus in his 20s searching for news about his missing father. So just breathe all that in for a moment. Multiple timelines, non-linear storytelling. I mean, if that doesn't say a Christopher Nolan movie, I don't know what does. But if that doesn't already sound like it must have appealed to Christopher Nolan enough to you, The Odyssey also asks the audience to question the very nature of storytelling, as lies, truths, and exaggerations all butt up against each other in the narrative. For example, Odysseus's story is told with varying degrees of accuracy by Odysseus himself. Then there are bards telling his story who are prone to exaggerating his amazing deeds. And then there's an active choice by Odysseus, disguised as a bard, telling lies about his own journey for his own duplicitous reasons to get home to Ithaca and reclaim his throne. Does that or does that not remind you of Leonardo DiCaprio's character Cobb in Inception, with his love of a dream within a dream within a dream? It certainly does me. So those are the structural reasons we believe here at Cinema Surgery the story of the Odyssey has appealed to Christopher Nolan. But what about the emotional aspect of the Odyssey? Is there something in there that will have appealed to Christopher Nolan to tell right now by making this his next movie? Well, we think here at Cinema Surgery that it could be an examination of masculinity. Now, it feels like a ripe topic for discussion in the world right now, this idea of masculinity. And it ties in to a quote from Empire magazine that Nolan gave. And I'm just going to read the quote and then explain what I mean. So Nolan said, as a young man, I had a list of however many I'd worked out, 12 or 13 films. I had a lot of ideas and a lot of very specific things that I was going to do. And I look back and I haven't done any of them. They all changed. When you plan ahead too far in the movie business, you are not taking into account the shifting sands of culture under your feet as everything evolves. And part of your job as a filmmaker is about being open to being part of that evolution. Now, when we talk about shifting cultural sands and culture in general right now, the topic of masculinity and the themes within the Odyssey about masculinity seem like a very, very fertile ground for conversation and for Nolan to do what Nolan does best, which is ask questions of his audience. Because the Odyssey does ask questions about what it means to be a man, particularly when that man has been stripped of the context that previously defined him. Now, this is very specific to the Odyssey because of when it was set. Now, Odysseus is a husband who's away from his wife, a father who has missed his son growing up, a warrior whose war is over, a king without a kingdom, a leader whose men all die, an adulterer who is the plaything of goddesses, and a son whose mother dies of a broken heart because she believes her child is dead. There's a lot to unpack in terms of what that might mean to a man within the story of the Odyssey, and can lean in to topics of discussion that are culturally relevant today. Because on some level, this film could be an examination of masculinity and gender dynamics through its exploration of power, loyalty, and identity. I mean, Odysseus, within the story of the Odyssey, embodies both male heroism and strength, as well as vulnerability and guilt and grief. There's a lot going on with this character. Then there's his relationships with the female characters in it, his loyalty to Penelope, the temptation, as I mentioned already, that Calypso offers, goddess Athena, and the guidance she offers him throughout. There's a lot to explore in terms of supposed male authority versus supposed feminine influence. It's a fertile ground. I know I used that expression already, but that seems to be the best way to discuss how the themes that are at play in the Odyssey could be in Nolan's hands, and in Nolan's hands, extremely relevant today. And I think if you combine that with the non-linear storytelling, which allows us to have an older, potentially wiser Odysseus reflecting on who he was as a younger, proud, arrogant man, there's a lot to unpack there. But with all this potential exploration of masculinity and gender dynamics, expect it to be done in a very Nolan way. And to explain what I mean by that, I'm going to turn to the wonderful book that is The Nolan Variations and this quote from Christopher Nolan. I've had conversations with friends of mine, and they all ask about why I don't make a film about the things I care about politically. And I always say, well, because it doesn't work. You can't use narrative to tell people what to think. People just react against it. It doesn't mean you don't care about something, but you have to be neutral or objective in your approach. You can't tell people what to think. You can only invite them to feel something. So, as per Nolan and what he does with his films, this will, again, potentially, this is guesswork here, this will potentially ask questions of the audience on this fascinating subject matter of masculinity and gender dynamics, but it will leave it to each viewer in turn to walk away with their own opinions and feelings on what they want to take from the movie. As he said in his quote, Nolan will be neutral and objective, but undoubtedly ask questions of every audience member who sits in the biggest theatre possible, an IMAX, no doubt, to watch this movie. So that is the storytelling aspect of why we believe Nolan will want to do this movie, the meat on the bones, if you will, the emotion. And that is also the structural reason we think he'll want to make this movie. There is also another reason, and that is the fact that Nolan has cited Ridley Scott as one of his favorite filmmakers, and he's expressed his admiration for Ridley Scott's most recent film, Gladiator 2. So imagine Nolan watching that and, getting excited about the setting, about the period setting. And then obviously it won't have hurt to have seen that film do $500 million at the box office. So what that will have told Christopher Nolan is that there is an appetite with moviegoers right now for these big swords and sandals epics, which has possibly played into his decision to make the Odyssey his next film. Now, one more thing on a personal level, those of you who are regular viewers know a bit of an action junkie, love me a bit of action, and also consider Christopher Nolan one of the greatest action directors working today. And the incredible opportunities for spectacle within the story of Homer's Odyssey are just, it gives me goosebumps to think about what Nolan could do on screen. For example, the Cyclops is a major feature, a major sequence in the story of the Odyssey. Now, I grew up on Ray Harryhausen's wonderful stop motion work in films like Jason and the Argonauts. And when I hear the word Cyclops, it immediately transports me back to Ray Harryhausen's wonderful creation, his stop-motion monster, the Cyclops, in 1958's The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and seeing that as a kid and just being awed by it. So now I'm an adult, and the idea of being awed by Christopher Nolan putting a Cyclops on screen with, and let's not forget, his biggest budget for a film ever. This is a $250 million movie. It's around the same as The Dark Knight Rises, but certainly up there and in some corners being called his most expensive movie yet. All that, plus Universal have said he's once again pushing the limits of IMAX technology. We all know with Oppenheimer, he created the first black and white film stock for IMAX. I mean, all of that combined, I mean, the mind boggles at what we could see on screen in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And the Cyclops is just one of numerous elements and set pieces, let's call them, Nolan could create from the Odyssey. There's Odysseus fighting the sea monster Scylla. There's his journey to the underworld. There's the attack of the Lestriogians. They are giant cannibals who attack his fleet of ships and eat his men. So there's all of that for Nolan to play with. All the possibilities. So those are our thoughts on why Nolan has decided to make The Odyssey his next film. His love of non-linear storytelling, his love of weaving multiple timelines, and his love when he likes to do it, and he does like to do it quite frequently, his love of amazing spectacle. All of that combined is why we here at Cinema Surgery believe he has decided to adapt The Odyssey. Now, this next section of the episode, as I promised at the start, I am calling Fact Meets Prediction. So, we're going to play soothsayer here at Cinema Surgery and combine the actors we know are appearing in this movie with the roles we think they are going to be taking. Because as yet, while we know a lot of the actors, we don't know who they are playing. So we are going to get out our movie tarot cards and do some serious guesswork. And if you are watching this video after it's been announced who's playing who, then do have a good laugh at our expense at just how wrong we got it. Or put a comment if we got it really, really right in the comment section. Go, that's kind of unbelievable, guys. Are you hacking Christopher Nolan's phone? We are not hacking Christopher Nolan's phone. Fact. That's your first fact in this section. All right, let's do some more fun facts. Fact: Matt Damon is appearing in the movie. Our prediction: we think he is going to be playing an older Odysseus. So already we are showing our hand and making a huge prediction. We believe there is going to be an actor playing an older Odysseus and a younger Odysseus. This hasn't been put out anywhere. This is us thinking that's what's going to happen. So we think Matt Damon is playing an older Odysseus, a battle-worn, reflective hero, narrating his journey, looking back through his past, probably proud of some things, ashamed of other things he did, and looking back across it. Now, this will be Nolan and Damon's third time of working together. And if you think about Damon's world-weary General Groves in Oppenheimer, combined with his duplicitous astronaut in Interstellar, I mean, we know that the character of Odysseus is both those things by the end of his journey. I mean, it could be a combination of those two things Nolan has seen in Damon previously that makes him want to play this older Odysseus character that we here at Cinema Surgery have just created. But we think Matt Damon is playing an older Odysseus, and as an actor, the depth emotionally that Damon can tap into, we think it will have a huge moral weight to the story, having him narrate the older the previous events from an older, potentially wiser perspective. So if we're saying there's an older Odysseus, well, that means we think there is going to be a younger Odysseus as well in Nolan's The Odyssey. Who's that going to be? Now, at fact, Tom Holland is in the movie. However, we do not predict him being the younger Odysseus. Fact, Zendaya is in the movie. However, we do predict she is going to be playing Penelope, the wife of Odysseus. So why have we not decided on Tom Holland as Odysseus and Zendaya playing opposite Zendaya as Penelope? Well, obviously they are a real life couple and admirably private about their status, I guess, as a celebrity couple. But to have them play man and wife in this movie. I don't know. It feels a little bit like stunt casting, which is something you just don't immediately think Nolan would go for. And coupled with that, we've already seen it in the Spider-Man films. So while we do think Zendaya is going to be playing Penelope, we think the young Odysseus is going to be played by fact. Robert Pattinson is in the movie. Our prediction, he's playing the younger Odysseus. Now, why do we think this? Well, let's establish, first of all, Pattinson has an incredible range. From the Twilight movies where he began his career, he has just made some of the most unique and unexpected choices as an actor. And we've already established what a complex character Odysseus is. He has to be cunning, he has to be funny, he has to be charming, he has to be duplicitous, he has to be heroic. Over his career, Pattinson has done all those things. And as well as that, he's proven that he can lead a big multi-million-dollar blockbuster movie, as we saw in the success of The Batman. So he's going to be playing the young Odysseus opposite Zendaya as his wife, Penelope. Just to add another reason for this decision on our part, there's a film coming out in 2025, this year, called The Drama, a romance film. And the leads are Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. What that means is that all-important on-screen chemistry has already been tested and proven for them to be the leads in a romantic film, The Drama. So therefore, the beating heart of the Odyssey, which is Odysseus's journey home, attempting to overcome all these perils to get home to his beloved wife, Penelope, well, we as the audience are, in theory, going to believe that. It is going to move us emotionally because these two actors have been tested chemistry-wise and it's proven to work. So that's our thinking between Robert Pattinson as the young Odysseus and Zendaya as Penelope. So where does that leave Tom Holland? So, fact, Tom Holland is in the movie. Our prediction, he is going to be playing Odysseus' son, Telemachus. Now, I know, immediately you're like, how is Tom Holland going to be playing Zendaya's son in the movie? Well, let me take you back to what I said at the start and the multiple timelines in this movie. There is a whole section where a 20-something Telemachus searches for news about his father. That would be Tom Holland, in our opinion, playing Telemachus in his 20s, looking for news on his father. Now, you can rightly go, surely there is going to become a point towards the climax where Telemachus, Penelope, and Odysseus all have to share the screen together. How's that going to work? Well, first of all, Christopher Nolan has proved previously that he can use prosthetics very successfully to age up actors when needed. Ken Watanabe in Inception is a perfect example. Or perhaps at that point in the film, different actors will come to the fore to play those roles. We don't know yet, but here at Cinema Surgery, we are plumping for Tom Holland as Telemachus. So those are the big ones. I'm going to speed through the rest of our predictions with a little bit about each character. So fact, Charlize Theron is in the movie. Our prediction, she's going to be playing Calypso, who I've already mentioned, a seductive, controlling goddess who detains Odysseus on an island for 7 years, torn between love and resentment. Fact! Anne Hathaway is in this movie. Our prediction, she's going to be playing Circe, a powerful witch who tests Odysseus by turning his men into animals and seducing him. Now, this will be her third Christopher Nolan movie after The Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar. Fact! Lupita Nyong'o is in this movie. Our prediction, she will be playing Athena, a wise and strategic guide to Odysseus. Athena, as a goddess, subtly manipulates events in his favor. Fact! John Bernthal is in this movie. Our prediction, he'll be playing Antionus. Now, Antionus is the arrogant and violent leader of all the suitors trying to win Penelope's hand in marriage and steal Odysseus's throne. Why have we picked Jon Bernthal for this role? No, it's not because of the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead, where he plays Shane and gets together with Rick's wife. It's not that. It's a bit that. But also because as an actor, he's got this intensity about him, which I think lends himself to this potentially antagonistic, villainous role that will, give you the emotional and literal, in some cases, fist pump when he gets bested in the climax. So that's our thinking for Jon Bernthal. Fact! Benny Safdie is in this movie. Our prediction, he'll be playing Eumaeus, a local swineherd who who helps Odysseus reclaim his throne in Ithaca. He's an example of loyalty. Now, our last 2 cast members are not fact. They are rumor. Yes, so rumor, Robert Downey Jr. is in this film. Our prediction, should that rumor prove correct, he will be playing Zeus, the powerful yet unpredictable leader of all the gods. I mean, with Downey's charm, wit, and authority on screen, all working together seamlessly, it just makes sense. He feels like a Zeus. He feels like the Zeus. And obviously, he's working with Nolan again for the second time after his Oscar-winning performance as Louis Strauss in Oppenheimer. So we think Robert Downey Jr., if the rumors are proven to be true, will be playing Zeus. And then finally, rumor, Elliot Page is in this film. Previously worked with Nolan on Inception, and we think Elliot Page will be playing Phemius, a reflective bard whose storytelling bridges the past and present. As I said, this will be his second appearance in a Nolan film after Inception. And that is it for the moment. Those are our reasons we think Christopher Nolan is adapting Homer's Odyssey, coupled with our predictions for whom is playing whom, or who is playing who. I've never known which way it went. Now, granted, there's been a lot of big swings in those predictions, but we at Cinema Surgery would like to consider them educated big swings. But what do you think? Let us know how far off the mark you think we are, or indeed, if you think we might have something with some of those guesses, but also how excited are you for the Odyssey? Is it something you're looking forward to seeing? Do you think Nolan has made the right choice in adapting this tale for the big screen? Hit us up in the comments below. And like I said at the start, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, Cinema Surgery. It helps us a great deal and allows us to keep making these videos. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.